What's up, YouTube? It is EA Copen. I am coming to YouTube to do the Author Newbie tag 2.0, which I found basically while bumming around on YouTube. It was started by Jenna Streety, and I just figured it'd be a nice way to start my new series of videos about being an author, storytelling, and my journey as an author. So, without further ado, let's get started. Question number 1. What's your book's pitch? If you have multiple works, choose your favorite. So since I have about 30 books out, let's actually go with the book that I'm working on right now, which is called Cyberspell. Cyberspell is sort of what you would get if you crossed Lovecraft with Doctor Who, threw in some Blade Runner and some Dresden. It's a wildly funny, super fast-paced urban fantasy set in a cyberpunk sort of world. The main character, Guy Smith, is a void walker. He is able to move through different spaces and time, sort of like Doctor Who, except he doesn't have anything like a TARDIS. He just has a special office with different doors that go to different places. He is joined on his quest by a young lady who is from the future, an alternate dimension in the future, where they have flying cars and mechanical prosthetics, and they have to kind of work together to stop this evil Lovecraftian entity named Azathoth from waking up. And while it does have some elements of Lovecraftian horror, it's actually meant to be really funny and lighthearted, but there's also going to be like some really serious moments. If you happen to have read the very last Lazarus Codex book, then you've already met Guy Smith. And he was wildly popular with the fans, so that's why he's getting his own spinoff. Next question. If you were a book, how would you pitch yourself? I would pitch myself as the horror you don't expect. When people meet me, they tend to think that I'm cute and quiet and totally harmless. And in general I am, but I also write horror, so I know about 1,000 different ways to kill you. Question number 3, what do you usually write? Well, almost everything I have out right now is urban fantasy, rather dark urban fantasy. I have one science fiction series that's sort of a political science fiction, more like Dune, that is out with a micro-publisher in the UK, and I'd like to write more science fiction as time goes on. I'm also kind of transitioning to writing more horror, since that's kind of always been my passion. I kind of fell into urban fantasy almost by accident, so I'm going to eventually merge more towards doing occult horror, I think. What's something you'll never write? I never want to say something is totally off limits, since I've already written all kinds of things from fan fiction to erotica to time travel romance, believe it or not. And so I'm always finding new genres that I think are interesting. And saying something's off limits kind of feels like boxing myself in. I might be interested in doing all kinds of things in the future. However, I think the one thing that I will probably never do is going to be romance. Particularly sweet and clean romance. I just can't write cleanly. I might be able to try my hand at some YA down the road, but I definitely know I cannot write sweet, clean romance. Question 5. What's your goal for starting an AuthorTube channel? Well, I already kind of had a YouTube channel going where I was playing games and just kind of doing a whole bunch of different things, and then I figured that I might as well do some author videos. Before I did that, I decided to go to YouTube and sort of look up author videos, and that's kind of how I found AuthorTube, and I said, well, I can do that. So that's kind of what I'm doing. My goal is to share what I know with other people who are where I was a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. If I can help even one person, then it will be worth my time to do this. Question 6. What made you want to start writing? Funny story about how I actually kind of became a writer. I used to hate writing when I was in elementary school, primarily because I was kind of lazy and I didn't like holding the pencil. It made my hand hurt. So when I was in, I think, 2nd grade, I wrote this poem. It was a Thanksgiving poem called Thanksgiving A to Z, and I just wrote it really fast and turned it in just to get it done. And the teacher really liked it. and it wound up winning some awards at the school. It went on to be published nationally, and it gained a lot of attention, and it was really the first thing I ever did where I stood out and anybody paid attention to me. And so I just kind of felt like I had to keep doing it for a long time. And then when I got to be an adult and I had a family and I had kids, I walked away from it. I didn't always want to be a writer. I wanted to be a film director for the longest time. And then when I actually got into doing that, I found out I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. And so being a writer is just sort of my way of telling the stories that I want to tell. To me, the medium doesn't particularly matter. I would animate it if I had that skill. Just it's about telling stories to me. Question number 7. What's your publishing path? As of right now, most of my stuff is actually with a small indie publisher. Well, a pretty good sized indie publisher, LMBPN. But it started out self-published. In fact, I started out completely as a self-published author. Well, I had no intention at all of doing traditional publishing. My reasoning was basically that if I had to do all the advertising myself anyway, I might as well get to keep 70% of the royalties. But I knew that I could get a story told to a reader, so I went indie at first. As things have kind of changed, I find myself sort of branching out. I think I'm going to try and do some traditional stuff this year, maybe horror. I think that publishing traditionally will bring in a new set of readers to me and sort of give me a chance to learn a whole nother side of the publishing industry, to get to meet new people and to learn something. Question number 8. What content do you bring to the AuthorTube table? I assume this means what am I going to do for AuthorTube? One of the things I'm going to talk about is my publishing journey. When I first started out, I had no money. None at all. We were basically so broke. We were living off of food donations. We were always in danger of having utilities shut off and being homeless. So I built up where I am from nothing. You always hear the success stories of the people who are making $100,000 a year, or $500,000 a year, or $1 million a year, or at least I hear those stories all the time. And so I thought it would be nice to tell a story of somebody who has just slowly kind of clawed their way up the mountain. There are a lot of stories that sound like overnight successes, and I kind of just want to come out and sort of dispel some of those myths. I also think that my publishing journey is unique, and I specifically want to focus on helping new writers, people who are where I was when I first started, or who may not know anything about the industry, to get going. A lot of times as writers who've been doing this for 2 or 3, 4 years, we kind of take advantage of the things we know, and we forget that there was a point where we didn't know how to set up a KDP dashboard. We didn't know how to run ads. We didn't know how to even get to Facebook ads. We didn't know how to find our audience, or to set up email lists, or how to get going. And so those are the kinds of things that I kind of want to talk about, is how do you get started and how I got to where I am. Just kind of practical advice. Question number 9. What is your biggest writing struggle? The hardest thing for me in the entire world is getting out and meeting new people. Not because the opportunities don't present themselves, but because I have social anxiety. I am extremely shy, and getting over that as an author has been important. It's kind of been a hurdle that I haven't been able to jump over yet. And that's actually one reason why I started this YouTube channel, so that I could get more comfortable talking to people and meet a whole different group of people. What's your best writing skill? I would have to say that craft-wise, I think I'm really good at dialogue. I can get character speech patterns down right. On the business side of things, I actually think I'm really good about setting deadlines for myself and working hard to hit those deadlines. If you're new to AuthorTube, what is your biggest AuthorTube question? I guess for me, as someone who is used to using a social media network like Facebook, I just want to learn how to connect with people. So if you're an author, don't forget to drop a comment down below and say hi. Are you looking for any new channels to follow, betas, critique partners, or other types of writer buddies? Absolutely. That is a large part of why I'm doing this, is to connect with other writers, to connect with readers, to find people who want to find me, basically. I would love to have more author friends. I definitely am always in need of beta readers, although I have a few. I don't usually use critique partners just because I believe that readers are better at that, at giving me the kinds of feedback that I need rather than other writers. What are you most excited for during this new fresh start on AuthorTube? I am absolutely excited about meeting other people, interacting with other authors, and helping people. That's basically my passion in life, is to help other people. And so this is just one more way for me to do that. And I hope that there's opportunities for me to do that here. If you are a reader or an author and you have questions, make sure you drop them in the comments down below. And yeah, subscribe to the channel. I'm going to do quite a bit more of these author videos. So, see you next time.